Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. Unfortunately, the Sacramento Kings lose tonight, 113-95 to the Toronto Raptors. Calvin was so upset he walked out of the studio, so he is not available tonight. However, I have a special surprise for everybody. We are joined tonight by Bench Matthew. Matthew, how are you? Can you hear me yet, Matthew? I don't know. We'll wait till Matthew gets connected. He's joining in via Twitter Spaces. But shout out to everybody here in the chat. Brian is here. My guy Bouncer, Rodders, Deer and Fox Collector is here. Let's see who else is here. Space Dragon Chicken, one of my favorites. Digital Henry is here. What's up? Welcome in. Nick, are you here too, huh?
How are you?
Yo, what's up, Nick?
Where are your rebounds? Meet yourself.
Dude, we lost tonight, Nick. Horrible game. Shout out to Wendy here for joining in the chat. Urslow is here. All right. Matthew, can you hear me? We're still waiting on Matthew here. Let me get him removed.
Barry, I think we need to unmute you, my guy.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me? Hello? Hold on. Let me remove you real quick, and I'm going to reset you. Sorry, guys. I apologize.
We got to unmute you over in Spaces, my guy.
Oh. How's that one? Better?
There we go. There we are.
There we go. Sorry, guys.
All right. Pardon the technical difficulties, everyone. We're here. We're alive.
We're here. We're not drinking beers. I'm drinking a beer. I don't know what Matthew's doing, but hey, We're here. Unfortunately, Jeff the lefty, Calvin is not here tonight. He was so upset the Kings lost, so he missed the podcast tonight. No, I'm just kidding. He's a little bit under the weather. So I have Bench Matthew coming off the bench here tonight. Matthew, what is up? How are you, buddy?
You know what? I'm doing great tonight, man. I had a great day. I started on my taxes. I went for a run. I think I had a much better day than the Kings did. Tough loss tonight, but you know, I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
That sounds like a horrible day, dude. You started on your taxes?
Listen, man, it's January. It's dark. It's cold. You got to do what you got to do, you know?
Oh, man. I'll have to send you a picture of the sunset tonight. It was beautiful, 70 degrees. It was a really, really nice day here.
Yeah, so when are you coming up back to California, man?
At this pace, never, dude. If it's cold, if it's bad weather, like I'm probably not coming back. No, in all seriousness, if the Kings make the playoffs, when they do make the playoffs, I will be there, Matthew. I promise you that.
Make it happen.
I will. Shout out to Tito here for joining in. Wendy, I said hi to you. Alfie Man is here tonight. Bench Matthew. So, first thoughts on the game tonight.
First thoughts on the game, you know, I was writing down some notes this morning, getting ready for tonight, and the very first thing that I said was, these are the games that make me nervous. Teams like OKC, teams like Charlotte, teams like the Raptors, who have way more talent than their records show. My first thoughts on the game is it unfortunately kind of panned out the way I was fearing it was going to. The Kings faced a pretty physical team, a larger team, a team that's hungry, a team that's played some pretty difficult schedule thus far, and they showed up. And unfortunately, the Kings are walking away with a loss.
100%. OG Anunoby was listed as day-to-day before this game. He ends up playing. Chimezie Metu plays in this game, which was a shocker to me. I thought maybe he would be out for at least a couple weeks after seeing that scary knee injury, but he does return for the game tonight. Sabonis didn't really do his normal workload. De'Aaron Fox, 16 points for him. Harrison Barnes wasn't making a ton of shots. This was just an overall bad game for the Sacramento Kings. I don't want to say that they took this game lightly, but it was just not a very good performance overall by the entire team, in my opinion.
It was one of those. Go ahead.
Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just one of those games where the lessons that, we talk about hypothetically when the Kings win big, what's going to happen when X, Y, Z. Tonight was one of those X, Y, Z games. Exactly what you said. Domas had kind of a not all-star performance, which every all-star is going to have. And the bench was, for the most part, not the productive bench that we need. And that's what's going to give you these kinds of losses.
Yep. Great point. Also, shout out to Nick here for hanging around. Nick, we just got to go over the box score, and then I would love to hear from you, but we got him live here on Twitter Spaces. Also, just to let you guys know, we are expanding a little bit. We are holding multiple Twitter Spaces, to try and get Kings fans more involved, to try and hear from more of you. I was in a pretty cool Twitter Space last night. Maybe I went a little long. I was there for 6 hours, but I had a lot of fun. But shout out to Bench Matthew for helping me co-host some of these Twitter Spaces. We're definitely going to try and run more on non-game nights where we can talk to a bunch of the fans. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, Royal_Rebounds. Make sure you follow Bench Matthew on Twitter and pay attention to the notifications, because we will definitely be hosting some more spaces. And we want to hear from all of you guys. We really, really want to hear from everybody. Bench Matthew, another question before we jump here in the box score. I'm in the studio by myself. I'm drinking a beer. They say you're not supposed to drink alone, but you're here. There's 30 people here on YouTube. Is that a bad move?
You know what? We're together. The community is together, and my wife and I are having a mostly dry January, but I'm actually having a beer with you. So I'd say cheers to you, buddy. We're good to go.
Hell yeah! What are you drinking?
I've got a Lagunitas.
Okay.
We picked kind of a lighter, Lagunitas, especially since we're doing a mostly dry January. Just a light IPA, something nice, cool and refreshing after a 20-point loss.
Wow. So too much rain for you in Sacramento, so you're going dry, huh?
You know what? That's pretty much exactly it. And the funny part is it rained all of December, and it's barely rained this month, and that's pretty much what happened last year. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Wow, that's crazy. Hey, Bouncer just reminded me here in the chat, please, guys, don't forget to smash up that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us so much. Go ahead and share this video and this channel with all your favorite Kings fans. We are live after every single Kings game. Shout out to Jose. Jose, did you see the sunset tonight? It was incredible. I really, really hope you did. But Bench Matthew, let's dive here into the box score. You wanna read the box score for everybody?
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's do it. We'll pop it up onto the screen there, because I think we've got a little bit of a delay, folks, since we've got the live screen, since we are in separate places. So if there's a little bit of delay once the box score comes up, we'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, just to follow up while we're waiting for the box score to show up on my end, if anyone wants to pop in a little bit later to get your voice in, if you saw anything in the game, you want to get your voice heard, make sure you pop in over to the Spaces and request to be a speaker. I will unmute you once you have an opportunity to share, and we'll make that happen. Hello. Bouncer's got the link in the YouTube chat. Make sure you pop in to those Spaces.
And Matthew, I'm not putting the box score up on the screen anymore. We got it scrolling on the bottom. I know I'm making it more difficult on you, but I'm not going to let you cheat and look off of my box score.
All right, you got it. I got it on another tab. So Sabonis with 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 9 points. Again, just not the all-star performance we're used to having.
9 turnovers.
9 turnovers. That's as much as some teams get in one night. So you're not happy if you've got him on your fantasy team. Keegan Murray, one of the better producers tonight. In 33 minutes, he was able to put up 16 points. Just 3 rebounds, though. We're hoping to get more rebounds out of Keegan and 4 assists as well. Kevin Huerter, who had a pretty good first half with 21 points. He is the leading scorer for your Kings tonight, also with 4 rebounds, 3 assists. De'Aaron Fox had a bit of a slow start, as he often does, but he didn't have that second half fire, that fourth quarter Fox that we're also used to. He's got 16 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds, what we call a quiet, almost double-double. Harrison Barnes, 10 points, no assists, and 3 rebounds. And just to rattle off the rest of the bench, you can just sum it up with saying it was a pretty quiet night for the bench. Just to highlight 2 guys, Trey Lyles with 5, 5, and 6. Not a terrible performance on that being kind of an all-around run. We would love some more points out of that just because we are deficient there. But you can't fault Trey for 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 5 points and 6 points. Malik Monk, I'll highlight Malik Monk in 20 minutes, 7 points, and kind of the opposite performance of what we saw in the last game where he almost had a triple-double.
Yeah, and then as far as the Toronto Raptors go, I mean, you mentioned Huerter, right? He led all scorers for the Kings with 21 points. As far as the Raptors go, 26 points for Pascal Siakam. He had like 12 of those points in the third quarter. He was absolutely huge for the Raptors. 16 points for Gary Trent Jr., 17 for Fred VanVleet. And then Boucher, 16 off the bench for him, and 19 points for Precious Achiuwa. Wow. That's a rough night for the Sacramento Kings. I mean, just looking at some of these stats, you look at the team stats tonight, almost 48% from the field for the Kings, 40% from three-point range, and they lost by, almost 20, which is wild. They shot better from the field, from three-point range. They shot better from the free throw line. They got out-rebounded tonight. They did lead in assists, but 19 turnovers is not good. We're starting to see more and more of those. I believe we saw 25 turnovers in one of the previous games. So not good at all. Not a good performance. Not a good way to celebrate an extension for Monte McNair, huh, Matthew?
Definitely not. And if you're wanting to come out and play some of these more physical teams, you're going to have to make those adjustments. You're seeing 6 guys in double figures for the Raptors. They're coming into tonight again. They're better than their record. They're a defensive team, and they showed it tonight. We'll talk about some of the nerdier stats a little bit later, but they came in tonight. They knew what they needed to do. They made the adjustments that they needed to, and hats off to the Raptors, because this is the kind of box score that you would want to see out of your Sacramento Kings, right?
Yep.
Pascal Siakam, their big guy, comes up with a double-double and big points, and you've got production up and down the board. So hats off to the Raptors running with, I believe, an 8-man lineup, and they really ratcheted it tonight.
Digital Henry says, smash that like button like the Raptors smashed Domas. Shout out to Sass out here. Sass is joining in. We have Alfredo here, Faquan, Charles, welcome in. Lowe is here. It's good to see you guys. And everybody that's joining in, Rodders, please don't forget to smash up that like button. Bench Matthew, you want to bring Nick up? I want to hear from Nick.
Let's do it, Nick. If you're ready, man, I want to hear you. Why not? Why not?
Why not, Nick? Why not bring Nick up?
Why not tap the right button? Here we go.
Why not unmute everybody, Barry?
You just call me Barry?
No, that was me. I was doing it. I unmuted it. But I'll call you Barry if you want. I don't mind.
All right, Nick, you think you should be good to go? Go ahead and unmute yourself, buddy.
Nick. Hello, Nick. Hello. All right, well, Nick's getting ready. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. So if you missed out last night, like I said, we had a 6-hour Twitter space celebrating the Monte McNair extension. Of course, Wes Wilcox was extended as well. I was stoked. I was so so happy. I was ready to talk. Like I said, it was like 6 hours long. I went till 1 o'clock in the morning here, 3 a.m. Pacific time. Shout out to Elizabeth. She hung out with me basically the entire night. So shout out to her. And also shout out to Bench Matthew. Skip was there. Sacktown Pete was there briefly. A bunch of really, really cool Kings fans. So it was cool to chop it up with you all. And like I said, we do want to do a lot more spaces, hear from you all. We're probably going to be doing most of those on non-game nights. So if you're not watching the Kings game, but you want to talk about the Kings, or just hear, me ramble or Bench Matthew ramble, please join us on Twitter. It's a lot of fun. If you've never done spaces before, they're really quite easy. All you got to do is just follow us, Royal_Rebounds. If you see a blue ring around our profile picture, it means we're in the space. Just click on the profile picture. You can click join space. If you want to talk, you can come up on stage. Just hit request to come up on stage. And we'd love to hear from you guys. Nick, is that good? Are you here? Did I delay enough for you?
All right. I think we got him.
Oh, hold on. He's requesting right now.
You are approved.
Nick.
Up, guys?
Yo.
There he is.
Yeah, why not?
Why not lose to the Raptors, Nick? Man.
Yeah, we lost tonight. We should have won this game. But you know what? We're gonna have to try to win on Saturday and beat Memphis. My bad. Beat Minnesota Timberwolves.
Good.
You know what's so funny, Nick? I'm so glad someone else does the same thing. I always call the Timberwolves Memphis. I don't know why, but those two teams are the same place in my brain. Is that the same? Are you the same way?
Yeah, it's like they both start with an M.
I do the same. Calvin was making fun of me last season. He started calling them the Memphis-Soda Grizzly Wolves. Because I just constantly messed it up. But it's okay. We make mistakes. We move on. We're here. Nick, I want to hear from you. This was a tough loss tonight. A lot of Kings fans are unhappy. I think we should be happy, right? We're still 7 games over 500. But, Nick, we've gone through a ton of losing over these past, 16 years or so. What do you do to calm yourself down after a loss?
Well, you gotta take a deep breath. You gotta try to come back and win your game. It's just, winning your game it's not about losing. It's about winning your game. So, I feel like the Kings could try to come back and win this game. The next game, maybe the next game we win. We'll see what happens. But
okay.
I feel like that we can come back and win it.
I like the positive attitude. What about you, Matthew? What do you do to decompress after a rough loss?
I do yoga, man. I do some breathing and some yoga. I stretch it out, Doug Christie style.
We hear a lot of breathing exercises. You guys are both huge on breathing, huh?
Oh, I didn't know. Nick, are you into breathing?
Yeah, I am.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, did you hear that Nick just beat strep throat? That's pretty impressive.
Right on,
yes,
man.
Yes, I did. Why not? Why not beat it?
Why not beat it? Nick, you want to give me your first thoughts on the game tonight?
I do have to say, we're going to have to – we go to Minnesota on Saturday. Let's like to beat them Saturday. And let's beat Minnesota.
All right. I like it. Very, very positive attitude, Nick. That's why I love you, dude. You're always positive.
Yes, I am.
That's great. I mean, a week ago you were positive for strep throat, and you beat that, so why not stay positive, right?
Yeah. Why not stay positive,
Why not?
I love it.
Shout out to Bouncer. Bouncer likes my shirt. If you guys don't know, this is In Pound. He's a Sacramento Kings superhero. Got him at Doco right across from the arena there at the comic book store. So shout out there. But Matthew, I'm going to kind of let you, you got any further questions for Nick before we let him go?
Well, Nick, I just want to know, man, are you going to be healthy enough to practice here pretty soon, or are you pretty much back to business?
I am at basketball practice this Saturday. I've been to my couple of practices, so I will be at practice Saturday. So,
That's good to hear, buddy.
I like it. Nick's off the injury report. That's all we want.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
I'm going to put
huge.
you on my fantasy team, man. I'm activating you this week.
Yes, you will.
Dude, I can't play fantasy basketball. I have so much respect for everybody that plays fantasy basketball. It is just a shit show, dude. Like, for me, I don't have enough time. I forget to change my players. Everybody's always injured. Like, fantasy football is stressful enough, but I enjoy it. Fantasy basketball is just a whole nother animal. You guys are psychos.
It's called Fantasy Hospital for a reason, my guy.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. All right, Nick.
I do have to say, go King. Go Kings.
Go Kings, dude. We're going to let you go. I hope you join us on Saturday after your practice, after the game. You got any last words for the royal family out there?
Well, go Kings. Let's get a win.
Go Kings. Let's get a win. I like it. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate you so much.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you
Thank you,
on
buddy.
Saturday.
All right. See you then.
All right. Dude, you and I got to work on our timing, dude. I'm pressing the mute button. You're pressing the unmute button. We're muting, unmuting, back and forth. It's hilarious, dude. I love it. Matthew.
We're doing this across the ocean. I love it.
We're like I want to say we're like the Sacramento Kings in the first 4 games of the season. You know, we're trying to figure out chemistry, work it out. But, dude, 4 losses, 100%. And then we're about to turn it on, Matthew. We're about to turn it up and win some basketball games.
100%. Well, what do you think about this 7-game road trip we've got coming on? We're going to win some games here?
That's rough, man. You know, I want to talk about the road trip, Matthew. And I know everyone in the chat wants to talk about it, but I'm gonna make them wait, dude. I'm gonna make them wait. We're going to finish talking about this game tonight. We got to get out all the bad vibes, all the bad feelings. You know, you can't go to sleep mad. You got to get it all out. Like you guys said, take some deep breaths, decompress. Then we can move on and talk about Minnesota. Is that okay with you?
You got it, buddy. I got plenty to talk about tonight.
Hell yeah. Well, before we get in the game, I mean, first off, I gotta get some stuff off my chest. YouTube TV, I hate you. You suck. You just keep fucking with me, dude. They keep fucking with me, Matthew, over and over and over again. And, like, I just got to let out some frustration real quick here. Maybe it's because the Kings lost. It maybe doubled in size. But they keep messing with my team. I pay for YouTube TV. I have NBA League Pass. I don't watch a lot of TV other than sports, and specifically the Sacramento Kings. That's what I have it for. They blacked out the game, dude. Like, I was so pissed I couldn't see the first quarter, half of the second quarter of this game. This is not the first time that it's happened. It's happened over and over and over again. I've spent, like, numerous hours on hold with YouTube TV. I've talked to their reps. I don't know where they are, but they don't understand what I'm saying. But, you know, it's so frustrating because I have League Pass. I have the Kings stream on League Pass. League Pass is, or the King stream on League Pass is blacked out because it says that I'm not in the local area. And then on YouTube TV, I click on the local channel, and the local channel is blacked out because it says that I'm not in the local area. So it's like either I'm in the local area or I'm not in the local area. They need to make up their mind.
So my biggest complaint about tonight is that they didn't even give us the common courtesy to give us a dog show.
Great point. You just got the blue screen, right, that said programming not available?
Look, the Kings are 1-1 and winning by 30-plus points when they put a dog show on in lieu of the first quarter. So if they're going to do this to us, at least give us something.
More dog shows. We need some dog shows, dude.
Maybe someone in the chat can do some deep diving, but I believe James Ham, when he was keeping everyone informed, was saying that it was NBC Sports that was essentially trying to fix the problem. So I don't even know if it's YouTube TV. So maybe someone in the chat can do some deep diving for us and get to the bottom of this. Because I'm with you, Cal. I'm with you, Barry. I'm always talking to Cal. I'm with you, Barry.
I'm Cal and Barry today, buddy.
You are. That's right. You're doing a 2-man job. Look,
or I could be Cal and you could be Barry. Either way.
I don't know, man. That's big shoes to fill. Listen. I was texting my dad. I was texting my brother. I was texting some friends. It's tough being a Kings fan already. Do we really have to figure out how to watch our own TV channel?
Guys, Lydia's here. Lydia's late. Somebody write up Lydia. Bouncer, you need to issue a citation to Lydia. Lydia, that's totally not acceptable. You need to be here on time next time.
Definitely. Else you run the risk of putting the word bench in front of your name, which we have found is pretty permanent.
Dude, I almost delayed the stream. I was like, Lydia's not in the chat. What's going on? Like, maybe I should just make everybody wait. You know, like, I don't really know what to do. Without Lydia, I can't run the show.
That's some good feedback, Lydia. You got to be here on time now.
All right, back to the game here. I'll stop ranting and talking about bullshit. But hey, shout out to Christian for joining in. Good to see you, Christian, and Lydia. I'm happy you are here. And yes, maybe we'll talk about some big men. But first off, so Matthew, you mentioned the game for Sabonis tonight. 9 points, 9 turnovers, 8 rebounds. Almost another triple-double for Sabonis. I mean, the dude is killing it in the triple-double category. But over the past couple games, there's been a lot of turnovers. We saw 8 turnovers, I believe, in the previous game. 9 turnovers tonight. What do you think's going on with Sabonis? Is he just throwing more risky passes? Is it something the defense is doing, maybe because they've been watching film, or maybe the hands bothering him? What are you feeling about Sabonis right now?
Yeah, so I think it could be a little bit of both. But when the Kings run a pretty predictable offense, you know that they're going to be scouting it. You know they're going to be trying to cut the head off the snake, so to speak, and follow the record. Yeah, the Kings have actually been able to fare decent when Sabonis has been absent in what few absences that he's had. But the offense is really, in a lot of ways, running through Sabonis as both a person who is going to be a through man as a passing big, but also someone who's going to be able to rebound. And when you're putting big men to body up against a guy like Sabonis, who is going to be one of your top passers and top rebounders, you know that you're able to diminish his ability to handle the ball well, whether that's coming off the rack or whether that's coming off of a pass. And so the Raptors are a tough physical team. They're a long team, and you know that it was in the scouting report tonight that you've got to wrap Sabonis up. And quite literally, there was several possessions when they were wrapping him up. There was a lot of chicken wing going on there tonight. A lot of tangling happening underneath the basket there, and so that's tough to stomach 9 turnovers. But when you put that much beef under the basket, that's going to be a big factor.
Dude, definitely. What is this bouncer? Bouncer says Lydia is our Keegan Murray. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, Sabonis had a tough night tonight dealing with guys like Scotty Barnes. I'm a big Scotty Barnes fan. He's amazing. Siakam, I know Calvin is super high on Siakam. I'm not as high, but I think it's important to remember that this Toronto Raptors team is their schedule, don't let their record fool you. They've had a tough schedule. They've dealt with a ton of injuries. They start off to the season really, really tough. But they're 22-27. They're a much better basketball team than that record shows. So you hit it right on the head. They have a lot of length. They made it tough on a lot of these Kings players. And they just got up early, and they controlled the pace, the tempo of this whole game. They were up by like 20 almost in the third quarter. And the Kings were just fighting. They were expending all their energy trying to get back in the game, and that is honestly just like super, super exhausting as a team. So, the Kings were on a great run over the past couple games. This is a small bump in the road. You recover, you move on, you watch some film, you learn your lesson, and you keep pushing forward. The Kings definitely need to have their sights on Minnesota. I do think Sabonis will bounce back. I'm not worried about Sabonis, so I definitely do think he will bounce back. We got Ty here in the Twitter Spaces. Feel free to bring him up whenever you're ready, Bench Matthew. I got some beef with Ty, so let me know when you bring him up here. Next up, HB. 10 points tonight, 1 of 4 from three-point range, only took 7 shots. And honestly, maybe us Kings fans over the last month or so have gotten a little drunk off of HB, right? He's been splashing everything. The dude's been playing lights out. I think he's averaging like 23 or 24 points a game or something for the month of January. Absolutely ridiculous numbers. Something that's not sustainable. However, the Kings are a really, really good basketball team when Harrison Barnes is shooting that well. Matthew, give me your thoughts on HB.
Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about before, right? I think Luke Walton has been scratching his head for the entire month of January if he's been watching the Kings games, because he really wanted HB to be a significant offense producer, and he's just been having one of those months where he is doing above his averages, and whenever anyone is shooting above their averages and producing above their averages, it's eventually going to fall off, right? And HB is one of those guys who is going to show up to work. He's going to give you, a predictable amount, and from time to time, that's just not going to be enough. And if the Kings are depending on HB for significant point production night in and night out, I think we're setting ourselves up for a bit of failure. What HB is consistently able to do is set that tone, right? Consistently able to, like, okay, let's get some pacing back. And he's the guy that is going to take the ball to the rack, get a foul when you need to, stop the bleeding. And HB going to the rack is almost as good as a Mike Brown timeout, because he's going to get a bucket or he's going to get a foul most of the time. But at the same time, if HB is not getting the touches that he needs to produce those kinds of possessions, and tonight that was Kevin Huerter, and Kevin Huerter was able to put up the most points for the Kings. And so I'm not worried about HB. I think he's a guy that you need, but he's also not the guy that you're looking for your highest offensive production night in and night out.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like the steady person in the ship, right? He writes everything. He kind of goes consistent. The Kings are consistently bad tonight, so there's no surprise that HB didn't have one of his best performances of the year. But hey, I want to pass it over to Ty. Ty, hold on, I'm gonna unmute him here, Matthew.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Ty, I'm pissed at you, bro. You kept me up way too late talking about basketball. You know I love basketball. You know I love the Sacramento Kings, and you kept me up way too late in that Twitter space.
Hey, man, you didn't blame me. I literally left 3 times. So it ain't my fault. Blame Liz. That's her fault, man. What time did you end up going to sleep?
Well, I'm a little luckier because I'm in Hawaii, so I'm on a little different time frame. But I went to bed at like 1:30 in the morning. So you guys are psychos, and you guys were up way too late.
Well, for me, it was only 8, so I wasn't suffering.
Oh yeah, because you're down under, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very nice. Well, Ty, I don't know if you know this, but we're live on YouTube right now, so you can say hi to everybody that's watching live. And, we're breaking down this Raptors-Kings game. Did you catch the game tonight, or did it get blacked out for you as well?
Oh, I didn't have blackouts. Again, since I'm in Australia, I didn't have blackouts at all. I watched the second half, as I was still recovering from my Pelicans losing again. Seems like the common occurrence. I said this in daily space, and I'll say it here, is you guys just didn't come out with the energy today. Well, for what I watched in the second half. Like, the Raptors were swarming, and it was to the point of harassment where you guys just should have called the police on them. Like, anything Sabonis tried to do, he saw 3 defenders. And it's a combination of Toronto has finally figured out their defense. Like, they've been horrible this season on the defensive end. And, they just have a really good personnel for Sabonis. Like, this is, in my opinion, this is easily Sabonis' worst game of his career. Like, of him when he's been an all-star caliber player.
Wow.
Personally.
Wow.
And I'm not upset, because eventually you're going to have your worst game of your career, right? It's just going to happen. And I'm not too down about it. Does it suck to lose? Of course. No one wants to lose. But at the same time, these games are going to happen. Especially, I've kept track. You guys don't lose. If you do lose, you guys don't lose many blowouts at all. I think this is honestly like your first true blowout, which you lost in this season. And if I'm right, like, for it to be, 43, 44 games in, and for this to be the first blowout, like, you should be more than happy with it. Fox should have been more aggressive. I feel like he was way too passive until, like, late in the fourth where it didn't matter. And I mean, again, games like this are just going to happen. It's more just, if I would look at it, it's just move on to the next. You know what I mean? Don't put too much stock into this. Just move on to the next.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Worst game so far, right? I've learned that in life, as bad as things can get, that's the worst it's been so far. It can get worse. So I really don't hope that happens to Sabonis, but you're right. This was not a good game for him. I mentioned the turnovers. The previous game, he had a bunch of turnovers as well. You know, what are your thoughts on what's going on? Like, is this a one-off thing? Are teams, like I saw Sass and Bench Matthew talking about here in the chat, are teams, you know, figuring out how to stop Sabonis? Or is this just kind of like a one-off thing for him?
I'll say this is the offense is starting to become. I'll give you that. So I just need to clear my throat. I think it's a mixture of. It's not the teams are figuring out Sabonis; it's they're figuring out the system. And what worries me is that there is no plan B. And if you don't have a plan B, I'm going to bring up a perfect example, is the 2018 Rockets. You go to shit. It was you shoot a free or you get to the paint, right? And when they missed 27 consecutive threes because they refused to shoot mid-ranges, it hurt them. And I don't know if Mike Brown has, like, not an entire playbook, but, like, another move where it's like, okay, this isn't working, you know what I mean? They're clogging off the lane, they're zoning up. Sabonis can't make his typical cross-court passes. He can't, like, thread the needle to a cutting Malik Monk. Can I go to now spread out, like, kind of like a 5-out where we put Trey Lyles at the 5, for example. We play Terrence Davis, and then we kind of, like, pick and pop. I don't know if Mike Brown is willing to do that because he also doesn't play Terrence Davis. Today should have been a day where you play, in my opinion, a Matthew Dellavedova or a PJ Dozo to give energy because you guys just lacked energy pretty much the entire game.
Yeah, that surprised me as well. Matthew, what do you think?
Well, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just kind of reflecting on some of the other games where the Kings have just been, you know, flat out beat. And I'm with you. This might be one of the worst losses of the season. And the only other game I could find with a larger spread, there's another 18-point loss to the Celtics, but the Kings actually pulled together and got a lead early in that third, and then just totally died on the vine. It's the Philadelphia 76ers and Kings game. You know, back towards the middle of the season so far. And if you look at that box score, it's you know, Sabonis had a decent night, Fox had a decent night. There was some production on the bench, but where you see the biggest holes was in Keegan Murray, where, you know, he was kind of early developing, and Huerter was at a slump. And tonight, I think you just hit it on the head, where the Kings just did not come out with the energy across the board, and or at least just got beat in the competitiveness of that energy. And I think that we need games like tonight. We need games like tonight to gut check us, to show us those vulnerabilities. Because look, if the goal of this season is to have a good season, that goal is already there. I think that we've already met that goal. If the goal is to get into 100%. The playoffs, I think that we're going to make that goal. If the goal is to make any splash in the playoffs, we're going to need games like this to show us our vulnerabilities. And tonight, a big vulnerability was shown when teams successfully attacked Domantas Sabonis, who is, I would say, no argument there, our best player on the court.
Yeah, I thought Sass, you know, has a great point here in the chat. Sass says the Raptors' swarming defense forced a lot of hesitations. I mean, it's been a few years, but remember, this Toronto team Yes, they don't have Kawhi Leonard anymore, but they won an NBA title with Nick Nurse as the head coach, playing a lot of very, very unique defensive rotations. I remember he was doing some box and one, some man coverage. He was just throwing everything at the Golden State Warriors. This was a team with Kevin Durant. Yes, he got injured, but this was basically the only team that was able to defeat that Golden State Warriors dynasty. So they are a good defensive team, and they can throw a lot of different things at you.
That's a great point.
All right. I want to move on here to Keegan Murray. 33 minutes of action, 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 from three-point range, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers. Another great game for Keegan Murray. I know, this is probably one of those games that a lot of people are just going to kind of overlook. I would do the same, right? Before, I used to do post-game. If the Kings lost, especially like this, like a bad loss, I would turn off ESPN. I'd close my phone. I didn't even want to look or think or talk about the Sacramento Kings. Now I'm forced to do it, which is good, but there's definitely some trying times. But, Keegan Murray, another great performance. The dude continues to shoot exceptionally well from three-point range. He's doing the small things. Like I said, I think he gets more comfortable on the court every single game. I love his approach. I love his attitude, his effort. I can't say enough good things about Keegan Murray. He is one of the guys that really stood out to me tonight. I would have liked if he took more than 10 shots, but, that all goes with, how the game goes. What do you think about Keegan Murray tonight, Matthew?
Well, he was one of the highlights for me in my notes tonight was he hit, I believe it was 2, maybe it was 3, but it was 2 really big threes in that fourth quarter just to try and keep the Kings alive. And when the Kings are a team that are currently either in a position of living by the 3 or dying by the 3 or playing up on defense, you need someone that you can call on to make a big 3 when you're getting beat on the defensive end, which the Kings were tonight. If you look at their overall schedule or their overall record, and you look at the games where their offensive rating is over 115, the Kings are an incredible record. They're 22-25 when their offensive rating is over 115 versus just 5 for 21. So in a night like tonight where you're just getting absolutely beaten on the physical end, somebody has to be that offensive switch. And Keegan Murray was showing that he's a reliable option to go to late. And so for him to make those threes big, I think that was keeping the Kings afloat. And unfortunately, they just couldn't wrap it up. But yeah, I totally agree with you. He's on my highlight list tonight. Keegan Murray showed up tonight.
Great point. Hey, Ty, I want to hear from you, man. Outside perspective, I know you're a Pelicans fan. What do you think about Keegan?
I've been preaching since, a month and a half into the season that Keegan Murray's underrated, and everyone laughed at me. Because the narrative was Kings aren't going to last, right? And I got into this heated debate with one of my good mates about, he thought Utah was going to be better than you guys. I was like, I'm watching the Kings, and it's like, they're going to be fucking better than the Jazz, especially when Utah eventually will want to lose, or even if they do try to win, they just don't have the star talent which the Kings do, right? And Keegan kept getting slept on because his game's not sexy. It's not a heavy tween game like a Benedict Mathurin. He's not getting to the rim or posting up people like Apollo Banchero. He's not dunking on people like Shaedon Sharpe. But in my opinion, other than Polo, he's the most NBA ready. Him, Dyson, and Polo. Because Keegan never makes a face reaction, right? Which that doesn't really have to do with anything, but it kind of shows just the professional side of Keegan is he goes in there and he does his job. He's a stretch big as of right now who plays it really well. He cuts when he has to. He can dribble off the floor a bit. He's a good off-ball defender, which I never see anyone talk about. He's not that great on the ball, but off the ball, he's good at getting in the passing lanes. When it comes to post-ups and stuff, I really love Keegan's game. And you can tell that the development has happened month after month. It was first, he just he was kind of like just Gorgeous Niang, right? He would just stand there and shoot. But like I said, he's added more aspects to his game month by month, and I really fell in love with Keegan's game early. Like, I love every time the Kings crowd chants Keegan Murray's name the way they do.
Yeah,
and shout out to I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but that whole idea of the Keegan Murray call and response was actually a fan on Twitter tweeted at our MC Scott Moak and said, "Hey, any chance that we could get this going?" And he said, "I'm on it." First game, he got it started, and it happened. How cool is that?
That's awesome. That is so cool. And I think you're right, Ty. Like Keegan, you know, when he first got here, it seemed like he was a little passive, right? Was afraid to, you know, do too much, step on people's toes, stuff like that. You can definitely tell he's getting a lot more comfortable, especially, you know, shooting the ball and defensively, like you said. And I think another thing that's kind of understated for him is the charges. I've seen Keegan step in there, try and take charges. I've seen him get charge calls. Even when he doesn't, like, I love the effort. I just love guys getting in there, sacrificing themselves to get a charge. I think it started with Davion Mitchell last year. It's starting to become something that's a little bit contagious because we've seen multiple Kings guys do that this season, and Keegan is definitely one of those.
You know, I've got one quick question for Ty, and this will be relevant for us as Kings fans, because if we are thinking about the playoffs, there is a decent enough chance that we may see the Pelicans in the playoffs. Ty, what do you think about Brandon Ingram coming back tonight? I don't know if anyone else in the chat is keeping an eye on Brandon Ingram. I've got him on my fantasy team, so obviously I've got my eye on him. But Kings fans should be keeping an eye on the other teams who are in the top of the West. What do you think about Brandon Ingram coming back?
Like how he performed today?
Yeah, how did he do?
He played awful, but that's expected. I mean, I've been saying this. I'm just happy to have him back because it's just the scoring gravity which he provides. It's not always Ingram needs to drop 25 points for us to be productive. Obviously, we lost, and it's his first game. He shot horrible. I think it was like, 4 from 18 or whatever. Like,
4 of 18, 0-6 from 3-point range.
Yeah, but like the first play, I'm not even joking. The first play, they set a screen with Jonas, and Ingram comes off the curl, right? Jonas dives into the rim, and then CJ McCollum's wide the fuck open. Like, that's the most open shot CJ's gotten since Ingram and Zion have been out. It's just the little things which matter so much to have a star player back. It's like if De'Aaron Fox misses, like the same time which Ingram misses, right? He comes back. It's not that, okay, we're finally getting the scoring of the year in. It's now you're getting the scoring gravity because let's say Davion Mitchell starts, right? You're not going to get, Kevin Huerter's not going to get the open looks, which he typically would with De'Aaron Fox there because they're not giving the same defensive attention to Mitchell to Fox. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I think, just kind of to wrap that point up, is the Kings have been so fortunate this year for the most part, aside from like some COVID and some non-COVID illnesses. The Kings have stayed healthy for the majority of the season. You know, Brandon Ingram is out for 2 months with a toe injury, and Domas is playing through a fractured thumb. And so the Kings have been able to, what injuries we've had have been short-lived or been able to play through. And so long as the Kings stay healthy, I would expect to see the Kings to continue to play competitively.
Yep, definitely. As you guys mentioned, New Orleans loses to Minnesota tonight, 111-102. Minnesota's creeping back up there. They're 25-25 now, and we do play them on Saturday and on Monday. Shout out to Brian here. Shout out to DJ. Key Kings, I want to hear from you, man. Get on Twitter Spaces. I'd love to hear from you. And Afghan, baby, oh yeah. Thank you for joining us here in the chat. I see some people talking about De'Aaron Fox. So bench Matthew. Let's talk a little bit about Fox. 16 points tonight, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 turnovers, 7 of 12 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3-point range. I think a lot of people have, they've been happy with the wins lately, but some people have been knocking on Fox. They say he's been too passive in the beginning of games, and he's kind of waited till the fourth quarter to turn it on. This game, Once the fourth quarter hit, it was maybe a little too late. I believe the Kings were down by 17 at the start of the fourth quarter. How are you feeling about Fox? Does he need to turn it on earlier? What are just your overall thoughts, Matthew?
Yeah, let me get my criticisms out of the way before I turn it to the positives. So I'll address some of the criticisms of, first, is he turning it on too late? And I think that's a very fair assessment, but let's also take note that how the Kings are rotating. Fox is, if you're watching closely, he's coming out almost every game around the 6-minute mark. And Mike Brown is putting Davion Mitchell in typically right around the 6-minute mark. And I think that typically works very well with the way that Mike Brown works his rotations, right? He typically will leave Sabonis Sabonis in for that first change. So that's the second rotation. And that third rotation, which is often Sabonis Sabonis' first rest, which is right around 2 minutes left in the first, is going to be putting Fox back in there. And so the way that Mike Brown has been rotating the first half gives Fox that early rest, and I think that is giving him more opportunities late. So that's kind of that first point. I would say my biggest criticism of Fox has been, it seems like he has dialed his speed down and his just explosiveness down, where in seasons past where we've really celebrated Fox, right, we celebrate his speed. And I think that what he's done, though, is he's traded that explosiveness to the basket to be more of a playmaker and more of a perimeter threat, right? What are the two things that we've really seen as a significant increase to Fox's game this season? Is his distance and perimeter shooting, as well as his free throw shooting. So, look, every significantly talented basketball player is a human, and every human is going to have X amount of hours to dedicate towards honing in your craft. And I want to give Fox the benefit of the doubt of saying that Fox has put in a disproportionate effort to work on his perimeter game. That has shown to be productive. He's shooting 10% better from the free throw line, and that only comes with reps. And so all that to say, whenever you make adjustments to improve your game in a couple of areas, you're probably going to have to trade off some areas. And so as far as where we're seeing Fox maybe shrink in some of his abilities or maybe where he shines, I'm probably guessing that comes from both how his rotations on the court are being orchestrated by Mike Brown, and also the areas of his game that he's choosing or at least being developed to increase. What do you think about that, Barry?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this game for me is a throwaway game. There's not much I really take away from this game. It's just one of those games that happens. You move on. I like the improvements I've seen from De'Aaron Fox this season. But honestly, you watch this game, there was a lack of energy. There was a lack of effort from a lot of the Sacramento Kings. It was almost like they stayed up too late last night partying, about the Monty McNair extension, kind of like what I did last night with Liz here. Liz, I appreciate you. I had a lot of fun talking with you last night on Spaces. Currently, we're live on YouTube. You should come check out the chat. There's a lot of Kings fans in here that would love to talk to you. I know you love to talk about the Sacramento Kings. And also, if you want to come up on stage and speak, you are welcome to do that as well. But yeah, Matthew, like I said, this is a throwaway game, dude. There's not much that I'm learning from this game. I'm going to move on to Saturday. But, we can finish breaking down a couple more players. We can talk about some other things like Chimezie Metu returning tonight, which I thought was absolutely huge and does help the Kings in the future. Because when we saw that injury happen, even last night when Liz and I were talking on Spaces, we're like, oh, I don't know how long Metu's going to be out, right? He's dealing with a bone bruise. It could be a week. It could be a month. He plays tonight, which was absolutely huge for the Sacramento Kings. What do you think about Chimezie tonight, Matthew?
Well, one of the things that I think Mike Brown was trying to do tonight, first of all, of course, I'm really happy that Metu is feeling well enough, especially to play. He's one of those guys that I want to see get developed more and get some more minutes. But what I think was really interesting was, and I could totally be wrong in my recollection, but I think this was the first time that you saw two really big men out on the floor at the same time. Domas and Metu and Lyles all in the game at one point, and I believe that was at the end of the third quarter. And at that point, if I'm imagining what Monty McNair is thinking is, look, we've looked bad all night. We're getting outplayed by a physical team. I'm looking into my bag for any rotation I can get. Give me Domas, Metu, and Lyles in there at the same time. And you know what? To his credit, that was something that I threw out as a suggestion on one of the streams a few weeks ago. And honestly, it didn't look good. And it's probably because that's just not a rotation that they do very much in practice. It's kind of like when Rashawn Holmes is in there with the rotation that he just doesn't have a lot of combined minutes with, and he just looks a little bit lost. And some of that's rust too. But you know that Rashawn Holmes feels the best when he's playing with people that he's doing significant minutes with, at least in some of those simulations in practice. And so I thought that was an interesting thing to see Metu in there with Domas. I don't think that particularly looked great, or at least it didn't result in what we wanted to see. But you know what? That might be something that the Kings will have to explore, especially if the Kings get matched up, knock on whatever you're knocking on, getting into the playoffs. And if we get matched up against a big or a physical team, Mike Brown might have to play around with that. So again, I'm with you 100%. This is a throwaway game. Why not try something new?
Why not throw it away? Why not throw it away? Shout out to Will Z Stats on Twitter. If any of you guys know Will Z, definitely follow him. He puts out some great stats. One thing that Calvin and I had talked about was the fact that we didn't like a lot of the threes that Metu was taking early on in the season and last year, right? He really buckled down and limited a lot of those. He was getting a lot of dunks, driving to the basket, stuff like that. He attempted a three tonight. His first three that he attempted since December 12th. Didn't make it, but like I said, his first three-pointer attempted since December 12th. That's a stat by Will Z Stats. I thought that was very, very interesting. I don't keep track of those things. I'm all over the place. But I really do like the fact that Metu has focused more on, assisting the ball, helping other guys, setting good screens, getting to the basket, and not just sitting there and jack up threes. Of course, when the Kings are down so much, everybody feels like they need to make a three. So that was, as Key King says, that was an air ball too. But, that just, to me, that stat shows some progress. What do you think about that?
100%, and I'll give a shout out to Martin, who's in the spaces, and if you want to get in here and chat later, you absolutely can. Just hit the request to be a speaker, and we'll get you in here. But I know he's someone, we talk a lot about the bigs in Sacramento, and one of the things that he talks a lot about is he'd love to see Domas just put the dunk down. Just it doesn't have to be a big dunk, but how many times have we seen Domas get into a situation where there's kind of a weird, awkward layup get tossed up there? And what I love about Metu is his game is exactly that. Get to the rack, be a lob threat, and get the dunk in there, get the ball in there. And something that we see out of Holmes is we're seeing him do more of that this season. Whereas in the past, more than just being a lob threat, that patented push shot. And for whatever reason, we're just not seeing much of that. So I love seeing Metu being developed, not just being a lob threat, but being aggressive and getting those dunks in there. The Kings have not been a big dunking team probably since DeMarcus Cousins was bowling it up on the block. And that's something that if the Kings are going to want to match up against some bigger teams, that's probably a memo that Mike Brown is giving to the bigs. If they're not going to be drawing a foul, especially tonight, the rest for, I think, letting them play a bit, being a physical team. Just get that puppy in the hole, will you? Let's get a dunk in there.
Yeah, shout out to Metu, man. I really like him. I really enjoy him. Just a heads up here, my phone is not charging, so if it dies and I lose you, Matthew, I lose you. So just a heads up on that. But hey, we're gonna be hosting a lot more Twitter Spaces. Hopefully my phone is okay and we can continue this Twitter space. But we plan on hosting one tomorrow as well. So if we don't hear from you guys, we would definitely love to hear from you tomorrow. Okay, we got to talk about Kevin Huerter. We haven't talked about him yet. 21 points tonight, led all scorers for the Sacramento Kings, 8 of 12 from the field, 5 of 9 from three-point range. That's crazy. That's 9 threes between Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter tonight. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a block, 2 turnovers. Kevin Huerter's been on fire lately, right, Matthew?
And that's exactly what the Kings need right now. They need that third or fourth person who's going to be that production. In a typical game, when it's Domas, Fox, plus fill in the blank, sometimes it's Keegan Murray as of late. As of the last few weeks, it's been Harris and Barnes. And at different points of the season, it's been Kevin Huerter or Monk off the bench. And, Huerter is one of those shooters where, or at least from what we've seen this season, is he's perfectly capable of knocking down some of those difficult shots. He's also pretty aware of when the floor is being spaced, how to create a situation of getting a good look. And he's also someone, like most significant shooters, have gone through a couple of slumps. And so for a guy like Huerter, he's the kind of guy that you want on the floor for as many minutes as you can get in that rotation where they're spacing the floor. And as long as he's getting good looks, you'll take the misses because you know he's good for it. And it's just like, managers in baseball, when someone is a quality hitter, but you're going through a hitting slump, you trust them. You keep him in there, and really happy for Huerter that he's starting to feel his groove a little bit. The Kings, I think the Kings are better when he is better, and that's just that's something that benefits the rest of the team, because when someone is in a little bit of a slump, maybe you have some hesitation to pass, maybe that creates a hole on the wing, and you don't want that. You want to be able to trust your guy. So the Kings are better when Kevin Huerter is better. Definitely.
Dude, Matthew, I need you to come off the bench and play some starter minutes, bro. I'm going to run and grab a new iPhone cable so I can keep my phone charged, keep the spaces going. I'll be right back. Can you talk a little bit about the bench with everybody? Maybe you can bring Elizabeth on stage. I know she's got a lot to say about the Sacramento Kings, but I will be right back here. I'm going to grab another cable so we don't lose you guys.
You got it, buddy. So just a reminder for anyone who wants to chime in on the program, you guys can call in by going to the Twitter Spaces. Go to Twitter, go to Royal_Rebounds, and you guys will see that we are live right now in Twitter Spaces. Just hit the join, and you guys can join the Spaces, and down the bottom left corner of your screen, you can request to become a speaker, and I will let you guys come on stage. And once I do, just double check and make sure that your mic is unmuted. So Elizabeth, let's go ahead and get you in here, and you can go ahead and unmute your microphone. What are your thoughts on tonight? Where were the Kings deficient? Where could the Kings have come up strong? What are your overall thoughts, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I mean, it just was a bad game. I mean, defensively we were horrible. I mean, and the Raptors, they came in with a great game plan. They were just physical. They just basically punched us in the mouth. Turnovers were just unacceptable. Just so many unforced turnovers. That's the frustrating part. The team was, the Raptors are playing great defense, but some of the passes that I was watching Sabonis make, I was like, usually he's not doing that, so it was kind of weird to see him, throwing into, double, triple coverage like that. Fox with some unforced turnovers. So just disappointing. I think, the guys are probably tired. They played, I think, 3 games in 4 nights. So, they're probably winded, which is not an excuse. Teams do it in the NBA all the time. But, these nights are going to happen. They're just going to come in, and teams are going to come in and outplay us, unfortunately. And that's what happened tonight. They were hitting a lot of shots. We just weren't getting to them defensively. They were getting to the paint, pretty much like every team gets to the paint against the Sacramento Kings. But yeah, I mean, they just need to basically turn back to the film, look at what they did well, and then look what they did bad, and turn on Saturday and just look forward to the schedule. But 7-game road trip, that's going to be tough, but the teams on there, everyone's pretty beatable, so hopefully we can go and make a run with this road trip that we're about to go on.
So unforced turnovers, that's one of the things that will drive any manager, any coach absolutely crazy, because that's often it's a mental thing. Sometimes it's a physical thing, exactly as you're describing. The fact that the Kings are probably tired playing 3 out of 4 and 3 out of 4 competitive games. What do you think the source of those unforced turnovers were tonight? Do you think that was the physicality of the Raptors? Do you think it was just a fatigue, or maybe a combination of things? What do you think the source of those unforced turnovers were tonight?
Yeah, definitely both. Physical and just the mental, and then the physical, ness of the Toronto Raptors. I mean, they were just getting in the passing lanes. They were, basically triple teaming Sabonis in the paint. And then when he was looking over to pass it out, they were just getting their hands in those passing lanes. So I think it just is a combination of both, unfortunately. But, I think Sabonis, obviously, he's a professional. He's going to look at the tape, and he's going to look at, what he could have done better. And, he knows those are inexcusable, because he's had, I think, 17 turnovers in the past 2 games. So that's usually not like him. He's usually better with his court vision in regards to that. So, yeah, I mean, they just got to basically, hopefully they'll have this 2 days off, tomorrow and Friday, get some rest. I mean, obviously they're going to have a day of travel, but, they'll just have to look at the tape and, go from there. And the thing is, as we were talking about it earlier in another space, they're really good about bouncing back with losses this season. We haven't really watched this team go on, besides, I think, the beginning of the season when we had that 4-game losing streak to start off the season. So I think they'll be able to bounce back, and turn it around rather quickly. Like, I don't see this team, like past year's teams going on like a 9-game losing streak, things like that. So, I'm looking forward to them, turning it around and hopefully going to Minnesota and punching them in the mouth.
That's good, Elizabeth. We've got Young Ham here. I want to ask you, how do we feel about Metu? How do you feel about Metu, Elizabeth?
How do you feel about Metu?
I mean, I really like what Metu's been doing this season. Obviously last season, and this is not to his fault, he was just shooting way too many threes, and he's not a great 3-point shooter. But this season, he's, the coaching staff has worked well with him, getting him to basically buckle down and, play in his role and stay to his role. So I really like what he does defensively. Offensively, he works really well, especially with Malik Monk in that second unit, with the pick and roll. He gets in that dunker spot quite a bit. Rebounding, he's very good at. He's very good at being physical. So I really like Metu. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm happy he came back pretty quickly after that bone bruise, because it looked really scary when he went down and he looked in a lot of pain. So I'm happy to see him back. But it was interesting to see that you guys were talking about the lineup with him and Sabonis. I was actually, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, they're on the floor together. So that was definitely an interesting lineup. I don't think it worked very well, unfortunately, but I'm kind of happy that Mike Brown was willing to try something else. Because, I think with a team like this in your first season, you kind of have to try those different combinations to see what works and doesn't work. So, but I really like what Metu's doing this season. I think he's improved tremendously.
That's great. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we're starting to see with Mike Brown is starting to cement kind of, like with what Rick Adelman did, was pretty much an 8-man lineup and pretty much had some set rotations there. And a lot of playoff teams are going to try and play into that. And so I like what you're saying, that Mike Brown is not afraid to try something, even at this point in the season. And we're halfway through the season, and at this point, fluke teams are starting to show themselves, and legit teams are starting to show themselves. And there are several teams right now who are lower in the standings, who, when people come back who are healthy, are going to be higher up. And this is a part of the season where maybe Monty or Mike Brown would be tempted to not play around with things or tool with things. But yeah, I think tonight was a great night to try something, and maybe there will be something in the tape that they can pull from that, and maybe there's opportunity to employ that. Elizabeth, did you see anything tonight that you can take away as a positive? Anything that we might be able to bring into the next game?
I mean, just, the constant fight in these guys. In past seasons, we've watched them when they get down by these kind of double-digit, leads and stuff. They kind of just give up. You kind of see it with the team. The moral is not good, or the morale's not good. But this team, I just feel like they don't give up. No matter, how many points they're down, they just keep fighting, keep trying to get at it. I liked what they did, later in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, they kind of locked down a little bit defensively to try to get a little last minute push there. So I constantly like to fight in this game. I think that's always a positive with these guys is they're never going to quit. They're never going to give up, even, if they're getting punched in the mouth the whole game. So I really like that. But other than that, I mean, it wasn't really a positive game. I just think everyone, defensively had bad games. Offensively, I mean, we had some bright spots with, Kevin Huerter continuing to shine with how his game. And I love how he, is not only a 3-point threat, he can get to the basket, do that little one hand, shot that he can get into the lane with. So that's always nice to watch him do. Keegan's still shining, which I love. I think Harrison Barnes had a kind of an off night tonight. I don't think he was as aggressive as he normally is. So I'd like to see him get back to that on Saturday. But yeah, I think just positive to take away is just them continuing to just, push at it, be aggressive, and not, fold when they get down in these big games.
That's great, Elizabeth. You're a student of the game. We got to have you regularly coming into these spaces. This is good. What do you think, Barry?
100%. What did you guys touch on? I mean, I left you guys at Metu, right? And you guys talked about Lyles, Holmes, Mitchell, Monk, any of those guys?
You're just going to have to rewatch the stream. I mean, shout out to Rodders. He said that, I beautifully worked myself into a time slot and maybe Calvin's haircut. Hey, I'll take the time slot, but my wife will not be happy about the haircut. That's all for Cal. Get better, Cal. We need you to get that haircut.
We might need you to run the show while I'm cutting Calvin's hair.
Hey, we can do that. That I can guarantee.
What kind of haircut are you pulling for? I'm pulling for the bowl cut.
I said it on the last stream. I'm following the money. When someone donated $5 and said the Amish bowl cut, I am all in on the Amish bowl. Let's make it happen.
You're a smart man. Shout out to Jay here, Young Ham for joining us. Ryan is here. Shout out to you guys for joining us on YouTube. Appreciate you all. Somebody was talking about Rashawn Holmes. I think it was Young Ham. Says, I like what Rashawn's been doing the past couple games. Not much playing time for him tonight. Only 3 minutes of action, but 4 points. Made, both free throws. Made his only shot. Any thoughts on Rashawn? Do you think he stays with the team after the deadline?
That for me, for Elizabeth.
Oh, I'm throwing it up. This is like 3 flies up. I'm throwing it up. Whoever's going for the ball.
I've got thoughts. Elizabeth, go for it. What do you think?
I think it all just depends. I mean, obviously there's the reports out there that he is available for trade. I think it all just depends on teams' needs. If they need him, for their team and whatever, I think he can contribute to this team still. But if he, gets traded, then I think he can contribute to other teams as well. I love Rashawn. I love what he does. I love that, with him being out of the rotation, he still stays positive. I watched the post-game show the other night, and what he said was just awesome because he said basically that, he's asked Mike Brown, what can he do to get better and, get more minutes in the rotation. And he said he watches extra film with Mike Brown. So that's really cool to see because it's hard. Mentally, it's hard when you're not playing a lot and you're in and out of the rotation. Mentally, that could be really tough on you. And last season, he had a terrible year and with his eye, getting poked in the eye a couple times and, off the court issues that he had to deal with. So, mentally that could be really draining, but he comes in, he does his work, and I just love what he does, even off the court. And then on the court, he hustles. He gives you those hustle minutes. He can play defense. He can give you that little push shot, which I'd love to see a lot more of. But he can rebound at a high rate. He can hit his free throws, which I also love for a big man, because big men tend to struggle with rebounds, their free throws. So I love that he could do that. So I love Rashawn Holmes. If he stays, I'll be happy, but hopefully he can get more consistent minutes because I think he can contribute to a lot to this team down the stretch.
Charles, Absolutely. Have a good night. Thanks for joining in. Matthew?
Yeah, Rashawn Holmes a season ago, 2 seasons ago, was one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player on the team. Just seeing him earn his slot the way that he did, and exactly what you said, Elizabeth, his hustle and just his presence that he brings, just that grind presence that he brings. And it hurt me on the inside to see how he struggled both with on-court and off-the-court situations that were presented to him. And we've seen certain injuries in several sports really break a player down in their aggressiveness. And I feel like, when a good hitter in baseball, takes a pitch to the helmet. You always wonder. Sometimes they just don't bounce back from that. And I feel like Rashawn Holmes took about 5 hits to the helmet last year. And there's just been a number of moments where, whether it's a loose ball that he doesn't jump on, or whether it's a rebound that he probably could have fought for, I just see some hesitation in him, and I hate that for him because he's better than that. He knows that he's better than that, and he truly does put that hustle in. But there's just a few things missing from his game to really complete that for him. And my hope for him, just on a personal note, my hope for him is that he would be getting significant minutes. And if that's not at Sacramento, that's at another team where he's getting diet on those minutes. But if he becomes a trade piece, then that's something that hopefully that's going to be beneficial for him. But I'm a big Rashawn Holmes fan. Hope the best for him, and hopefully his home is in Sacramento, being developed here.
Yeah, I agree. I read an article today talking about how Rashawn Holmes, it was from another basketball team, and it's so ridiculous. Like, as a Kings fan, you get like, you learn, right, that, okay, all these other teams, they all talk about like how bad the Kings are and how they could like fleece every player off the Kings and all that. Like, they're ridiculous. You got to like take those articles with a grain of salt. But I was reading this article today, and it was talking about how Rashawn Holmes was a potential buyout candidate for the Sacramento Kings, and that their team should sign him in free agency. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I think there's no way that Rashawn Holmes gets bought out. I could be wrong, but in my mind, it's like he's a valuable piece. He's could be the backup center that this team needs if he plays like it. Like, I like Rashawn. I'm holding on to him. I'm in the same boat as you, Matthew. Like, great attitude, great person, great personality. He loves the team. You see him cheering for all his teammates, even when he doesn't get minutes. So I really do like Rashawn as a person. I want to see a more aggressive Rashawn on the court. You mentioned, getting poked in the eye, stuff like that. We've seen that with a lot of different Kings, right? We've seen Sabonis get poked in the face, the eye this season. He seems to get hit in the head like at least once a week. So it really, really is rough. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little tired about talking about this loss tonight. I kind of want to move on to Minnesota, or Memphis as Matthew refers to it. But I got one last thing to bring up before we move on to Minnesota. And that's the plus minus. Matthew, I don't get to talk about plus minus a lot because Calvin is not a big fan of the plus minus. He doesn't like talking about it. He makes fun of me when I bring up plus minus. So the last thing I want to bring up is plus minus. Looking at these numbers tonight, it's ridiculous, dude. De'Aaron Fox is minus 30. Harrison Barnes is minus 23. But there's 2 Kings players that are positive in the plus minus. First off, you have Davion Mitchell, played 18 minutes tonight. He's plus 12. Chimezie Metu coming back from the injury, played 16 minutes tonight. He is plus 8. I want to hear your thoughts, and then I want to hear Elizabeth's thoughts on plus minus numbers. If Metu and Davion should have got more minutes tonight, and then I never want to talk about this game ever again.
You got it. So there's a couple things here, and I'll give my 10-second speech on plus minus. I think it's a very helpful stat. I think it can be a misleading stat. I think that it's not always a misleading stat. So there. If you look at the box score for Davion Mitchell, 18 minutes, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 4 points. You look at that right away and you say Davion had an off night, pun intended. I'll have to say I had an obligation. So not only did I miss the first quarter because YouTube TV or NBC, whoever it was, didn't get their ducks in a row. Yeah, exactly. I never want to talk about that again either. But I actually, I missed a good portion of the game. So I didn't see Davion Mitchell's defense tonight. I didn't get to see his production outside of those numbers. So that's where something like plus minus is going to be able to help you reconcile a 1, 1, and 4 in 18 minutes, right? Davion Mitchell is not there for his offense. He's not there for his rebounds. He's honestly not even there for his assists. He's there for his defense, and you're developing those things, right? You want to have someone with a strong suit and develop those areas. So should Davion Mitchell have gotten 18 more minutes? that's a tough question because you're essentially, so goes Fox off the court, so goes Davion Mitchell on, and how often do we see Fox and Mitchell really trading minutes 50-50 if Fox is having an off night? I think
no pun
Mike
intended.
Brown yes, and I think Mike Brown was trying to focus more on rotating the bigs, and maybe the smalls kind of got left in the dust. But I will definitely say I appreciate you bringing up the plus minus in that case, because I'm looking at the box score and saying, wow, he didn't have a good night. And, Chimezie Metu, 5 rebounds in 16 minutes. That's not bad at all. If you're getting starting minutes, that's 10 rebounds, and you're leading the team in rebounds for the night. So definitely Chimezie brought some presence tonight, and maybe we'll see some more of Chimezie Metu in some future rotations. And I think that maybe later on towards the end we'll have we will address the Alex Lynn, Chimezie Metu, Rashawn Holmes question that continues to loom over the franchise. What do you think about that, Elizabeth? What do you think about those plus minuses for Chimezie Metu and Davion Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big plus minus person at the end of the day. I'm just more of a winner loss type of person. But I do agree that Davion needs to play more. I think, offensively, he can do great things offensively. I just don't think he gets the opportunity to do it. He has a very quick first step, and he can blow by just about anyone in the league, and he can get to the basket. And then he has a nice little mid-range. His three-point shot is not as consistent, but they've been working with him on that. So I would like to see him more. I would honestly like to see him and De'Aaron Fox play together some stretches. They played together in one game. I can't remember what game it was, but they did such great stuff defensively together. And then offensively, De'Aaron was just doing whatever he wanted. So I would like to see that. Chimezie Metu too. It's hard because especially with Rashawn Holmes, when he had that great game the other night against the Lakers when he started, when Sabonis was out, it was puzzling to me that he didn't play the next game at all. Chimezie Metu got the minutes, the backup 5 minutes. So I thought that was a little weird. But I think Mike Brown is just experimenting. I mean, he's kind of got to figure out who's going to get those consistent minutes. But then again, it's kind of hard that those two aren't getting the consistent minutes. So it's like, how do you pick and choose between the two when you're constantly going through a couple game stretches between them? They're not going to be consistent as much as you'd like them to be. So it's hard. Davion, I think, is great. Like you said, he's there for his defense, not his offense as much. I wish he would do a little more offensively, but that's not what he's being asked to do by the coaching staff. But he can get a bucket when he wants to, I think, especially if he drives to the basket. So, but yeah, I'm just not big into the plus minus. Like I said, I'm more into win losses kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel it. I definitely understand that. And shout out to Ryan here in the chat. Honestly, Ryan, I think Rashawn does want to stay in Sacramento. I really think he likes the city. I think that he can help this basketball team. The playoffs are a whole nother animal. So, a lot of Kings fans are disappointed in Rashawn, what they've seen from him, the amount of minutes he gets. But just keep in mind, and I'll knock on wood here, we are one injury away from seeing Rashawn play huge minutes for the Kings. We saw him start last week, played incredibly well. I believe that was against the Lakers. So, it's good to have a deep team. It's good to have guys on your bench that have a lot of potential. And unfortunately, the byproduct of that is they're not going to play a lot of minutes when you are healthy. So I'm happy to have Rashawn. I want him here on the team. And I definitely think that he will have a big impact on this Kings team throughout the rest of the season. Matthew, I'm absolutely done talking about this game, dude. I'm over it. The Kings suck. We know. We're moving on. Let's talk about Minnesota. And before we get there, I think it's important to note for all the Kings fans that are worried about standings and all that stuff, the Kings are still the 3rd seed in the Western Conference at 27-20. New Orleans is in the 4th seed with 23 losses. So we'd have a little bit of padding there. Please, don't panic about that. We got 2 juicy games coming up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then we take on San Antonio, Indiana. Then we head to New Orleans on February 5th for a huge huge game against the Pelicans. We'll see if Zion is available to play for that. And then we wrap up that road trip in Houston with 2 final games in Houston. Now, Matthew, real quick, before we dive into the Minnesota game, this is a lot of road games, right? This is 7 games in a row. I know before the show, you and I talked about, like, does any other team have a 7-game road trip? Like, this is a lot of games on the road. However, some of these teams here, I'm happy to face some of these teams. So give me your thoughts on the road trip, where the Kings are at in the standings, and then we'll dive here into Minnesota.
Absolutely. And Ty, we see you in the spaces, and we'll get to you after this segment. But I think that, the Kings, when you look at the schedule for the year, there's a couple of anomalies you can see there. The first part of the season, the Kings had one of the hardest schedules in the whole NBA. The second half of the season, one of the easiest, and that's according to a few metrics, but you can only trust those as far as you can go. One thing that you can trust, though, is that the Kings are one of, I believe, Katie Christensen, this morning said the Kings are one of 2 teams that have a 7-game road trip. If you don't count the Rockets, who have a longer road trip, but that is mostly in Texas and including the All-Star break. And so the Kings have a couple of really long road trips, and the Kings have actually played pretty well away. So looking at a couple of these teams, right, you have Timberwolves for 2 of these games, and the Rockets for 2 of these games. Let's talk about the Timberwolves. If you have not been following the Timberwolves, as Barry was saying, they have been playing better lately. They are one of the teams that was expected to outperform what they're currently doing in the standings. They're 500 right now. They're starting to play a little bit better. If you don't know, Karl Anthony Towns, their best player, one of their big men, has been out for the last, I believe, 6 weeks with a significant calf strain. And it just came out recently that he's going to be out even longer than they expected. And so that pretty much falls on Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is, they had a huge trade for him in the offseason. Gobert is a great big man, but he has been really streaky this year. And he's one of those guys like Sabonis. If you can clog up Gobert, you're probably going to walk away with the win. The Timberwolves do have a pretty well-rounded roster outside of that. They're starting to piece some things together, and so the Kings should definitely not take them for granted. But if Sabonis can have 2 good nights against Gobert, I think the Kings have a pretty good chance of walking out of there with 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that Gobert trade happened, I was one of those people that was like, that was stupid. Like, what did you guys do? You gave up way too much for a guy that was just exposed in the playoffs. Is very, very limited. But then you look to where you are now and you're like, well, maybe it's good that we have Gobert, right? We lost our all-star center. We have another one that we can just plug right in and play. You mentioned they are playing a little bit better and are currently at 500. However, it's the Timberwolves, right? This is what people have been saying about the Sacramento Kings for a long time, right? Like, oh, the Kings won some games, but it's the Kings, right? That's how I feel about the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they will always revert back to the mean, and that means losing more basketball games. So I'm honestly excited about these 2 games. The Kings do play small. You mentioned the Sabonis matchup. When this Minnesota Timberwolves team is healthy, and, they haven't really been healthy this year. I think 4 out of the 5 starters have missed, like, a significant amount of time, including Towns, like you said, who they just announced on Saturday. There's no timetable for his return. But, this team likes to play big. Obviously, with Towns out, they still have a big man in Rudy Gobert, but maybe it's a little bit better matchup for Sacramento not having to face 2 7-footers inside. But, I'm excited for these games. I think the Kings have a great chance. I think Minnesota does have some things to prove, right? D'Angelo Russell is a free agent at the end of the season. Of course, he's playing for a contract. Whether it's with Minnesota or another team in free agency is yet to be seen. But, this Minnesota team does not have a lot of draft picks because they traded them all for Rudy Gobert. They need to compete. They're trying their best. They're dealing with injuries. I'm a big Anthony Edwards fan. The dude is absolutely incredible. But I think this is a good matchup for the Sacramento Kings. What do you think, Matthew?
No, I like it, and I agree with what you're saying. And I think that what the Wolves have really failed to do this season, and again, it's probably because Cat just has not been healthy to play. They've not had the time to be able to figure out how they're going to run with two big men on the court, running Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert at the same time. And some lineups we've seen go big and it worked, and other teams we've seen go small and it worked. And right now the Wolves are just trying to figure out their identity, and they really can't do that so long as Karl-Anthony Towns is on the bench. One thing that I do see people pretty big on is Naz Reid, who is coming off the bench for Rudy Gobert, sometimes, rotating in if they go really big, because the Wolves occasionally like to do that. What do you think about Naz Reid? I've heard a lot of rumblings about him, and I've even heard some people trying to suggest maybe looking into Naz Reid. I don't know what his contract looks like. What do you think about Naz Reid, Barry?
I mean, I know Calvin's a huge fan of Naz Reid. We talked about this last night, and I think Elizabeth knows. I can't see my phone. I had to plug it in away from me, so I don't know how many people are currently in the space or if she's still here. But I'm in the boat right now that it's like, don't make a trade. Like, just don't. Like, the risk totally outweighs the rewards. We are ahead of schedule. Like, we're playing good basketball. The team is connected. They have great chemistry. Like, let's not risk it. As good as a player as Naz Reid is, and, I think he does have some positives, some things that he could bring to the Sacramento Kings. Like, unless it's like you're willing to trade 2 second-round picks and a guy that barely makes it off the bench for a guy like that, I'm not interested. Like, I just... Why mess with the chemistry of this team? I think, you and I have talked about it in the past, that there's ways to improve this basketball team without making a trade. There's ways to improve this basketball team without signing a big name free agent. Like, we have a young team. This is their first real year playing together. So, it's like, I'm in the, I don't care how good you are. I'm good right now boat.
I'm right there with you. I think, for the Kings to make a move right now, I would like to see the moves happen in the offseason. I'll just leave it at that. If we're going to make any moves, let's see it in the offseason.
Great point. And they have a ton of cap space. So, yeah, I would definitely love to revisit that point. Shout out to my guy, Calvin, dude. I miss Calvin. I wish he was here tonight with us on the show. But he did leave me with his keys to the game against Toronto. But, Matthew, I want to hear your keys to the game first.
Against Toronto.
Sorry, not Toronto. My mistake. I
thought we never wanted to talk about this game ever again.
No, Minnesota. I tried not to say Memphis, and I think it came out as Toronto. But let's move on.
Any way to avoid that.
I say stupid stuff all the time, so you got to get used to it.
Yeah, I'll focus in on the Kings just played a big physical team, and that's going to be, I think, a topic that they're going to be addressing. And the Wolves are also a pretty big team, and Gobert and Naz Reid. I would definitely say my two keys would be, and one is going to be something that Katie says all the time, and that's defend without fouling. The Kings have played two games in a row now where the refs have really let them play physical. And what happened in the previous game is the Kings didn't leave it in the hands of the refs. And tonight they didn't as well. They got beat by a physical team. And what the Kings have been able to do recently is make those adjustments to play a little bit of physicality. Tonight it just wasn't there. And so my first key is to defend without fouling, play physical, match up to the lineup, and show that aggression. And my second key would be kind of that part too, and that's specifically focusing on those big men. Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, if you can plug those guys up, and if you can prevent them from getting rebounds, because if you look at some of the box scores from Rudy Gobert, he may not always put up big points, but when he's on, he's putting up big rebounds. And as we've talked about, so goes rebounds, so goes many of the Kings' victories. And so if you can prevent Gobert and Naz Reid from getting the 15 to 20 rebounds that they are easily able to put up together, I would say the Kings have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, great point. There was so many times during this game tonight where I'm like, oh, they got the rebound, second shot opportunity, it's in. The Kings are trying to cut the lead to double digits. Nope, now it's 11, now it's 13, now it's 15. Like, those absolutely kill us. So I definitely agree with you on that. One thing that I would point out in this game is, like I mentioned, and I hate to just keep hating on Rudy Gobert here, because I really don't hate on Gobert. I think he is a good basketball player. I just think that, like, he's not worth a super max. He's not worth everything that everybody traded for him. Like, I think he's a very limited guy. He's good at rebounding. He's good at defending the paint. That's pretty much it. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and take Gobert out of his comfort range. I'm going to try and pull him out to the three-point line, do some extra switches, stuff like that, try and get him in foul trouble. Really, that is the way to take advantage of Rudy Gobert. But Calvin, dude, shout out to Calvin. I don't know why Calvin didn't do better in school, because he definitely does his homework, and he left me 3 amazing keys for this game. First off, play fast. Minnesota is 28th in the NBA in turnovers at 15.1 per game. The Kings need to play fast. Number 2, the Foxtrot inside. Minnesota is 28th in opponents' free throw attempts per game at 25.5. De'Aaron Fox needs to get to the basket. The Kings need to get to the line. They need to convert on their free throws, and they'll be in a much, much better situation. And then his third key to the game here is live by the 3. Minnesota is 28th again. Dude, they're 28th in all these categories, which is crazy. 28th in opponents' three-point percentage at 37.4. So the Kings need to shoot some threes in this game, and they need to make their three-pointers. Those are Cal's 3 keys to the game. Matthew, what do you think about those?
I love it. And I think that you're addressing one of the issues that the Kings have had as of late, and I mean like the last few games, of how many times have you seen, probably once a game, one of the quarters, the Kings are able to produce some fouls. They're able to get the other team up to 3 or 4 fouls and get them one away from the penalty. And sometimes the Kings even getting the penalty early, and then all of a sudden the fouls dry up. And as frustrating as that is as a fan, there's more going on there, right? There's rotations that are matching what the Kings are doing to produce those fouls. Maybe someone's going to the bench and someone's coming in with a different kind of energy. But that is really frustrating as a fan to watch, see us get a team into the penalty with 6 minutes left in the quarter and not produce a lot of free throws as a result of that. And so if we're going to get aggressive and go up against these big men, you got to go right at them. And if we want to try and go at Gobert and Naz Reid, and I love what Cal is saying, Fox getting in there, I would love to see the Kings draw some fouls off of some of those big men and get some free throw opportunities.
Definitely. I got an interesting question here in the chat from Bouncer. Matthew, I'm going to let you take this one. He says, who is the pizza guy now?
I'm going to need some elaboration on that. I'm apparently at 30 years old showing my age and not knowing who the pizza guy is. So I'm going to need some elaboration on that.
Okay. All right. I mean, we saw Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was the pizza guy, right? He did all the commercials. Dude, shout out to pizza guys. I wish we had a pizza guys here in Maui, because I love pizza guys, pizza. Then we saw, who was it? Doug Christie was the pizza guy doing all the commercials. I have not seen. Maybe Pizza Guys has been cutting back on their advertising budget. Maybe we could get sponsored by Pizza Guys, dude. I would love to be a pizza guy.
I thought that this was some kind of, I was going to go on Urban Dictionary on one of my tabs and try and figure this out. This was literally who was doing the Pizza Guy commercials. I haven't seen one in a couple of seasons. Maybe COVID scared away that advertising revenue stream. I have no idea, but it's been a couple of seasons since I've seen one. Who do you think, who do I think would be the pizza guy on this team? I feel like feel like Rashawn Holmes could be the pizza guy. But you know what? Who I'd like to see be the pizza guy? Keegan Murray.
Oh.
I would love to see Keegan Murray be the pizza guy. I'm not very big on pizza guys. So maybe we're not going to get that ad revenue after I say that. There's a few other places I'll take over it. But I'm telling you, if I see Keegan Murray start selling me some pizzas, I'll go out and get some pizzas tonight.
Dude, I was thinking maybe Malik Monk. I think Malik Monk would be a good pizza guy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
he could have the Band-Aids with like pizza on the Band-Aids, or a Pizza Guys logo on the Band-Aids. Like, I think he would be yeah, but Ryan makes a good point here. He says every pizza guy got traded except for Doug Christie, right? So yeah, maybe we don't want anybody to be a pizza guy on this team. Right,
unless Malik Monk is going to find himself in an assistant coaching job, which I think might suit him very well. So maybe that's an avenue to explore.
Oh, man, that's absolutely hilarious. Well, hey, I think it's about time to wrap up the show here. Those of you that are on Twitter Spaces, I'm going to keep the space going. So if you guys want to hang out after the YouTube show and talk on Twitter Spaces, I'm definitely happy to run the Twitter Space for at least a couple more hours. Why not, dude? Why not? 6 hours yesterday. Why not 6 hours today, Matthew? I know you probably got to get going soon, but hey, I'm in a different time zone, and I'm psycho, dude. So I'm definitely down to stay up with you guys on Twitter Spaces. Everybody that's joining on YouTube, I appreciate you guys so much. Please don't forget to smash up that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hey, if you didn't get enough, join us over on Twitter. We'll be on Twitter Spaces for a couple more hours talking about some Kings hoops. Matthew, dude, I appreciate you so much. You're a wonderful person. I love having you in the chat, talking with you on Twitter. It's always great to have you, speaking on the show. Now you're a co-host on this show. Last minute, he comes off the bench. He's here. He's prepared. He's shooting well tonight. Dude, shout out to you, man. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate that, Barry, man. The door is open. The door is open. Let's say that. And for everyone who's watching, we will see all of you guys on Saturday. We appreciate that. And hey, share the channel, you guys. I found out about the channel one day. I was the Kings lost big, and I went on YouTube and I wanted to hear someone talking about the game. And there was Cal and Barry. I think it was maybe the third stream that you guys had put together. And I just started listening, and that's how I've been a part of the show, and as a fan. And so this is a lot of fun for me to be a part of it. So this show doesn't get any viewers without you guys liking it, and without you guys getting in the comment section, without you guys sharing it. So thank you guys for being a part of it, and let's bring this thing over to Twitter.
Yes. Thank you, Bouncer, for posting that in the chat. That's the link to the Twitter feed. It is Royal_Rebounds is the channel. Dude, Matthew, honestly, you came in on the third stream. I'm surprised you're still watching, dude. I can't even watch those old episodes. We've gotten so much better. Like, it's cringe, dude, for me to watch like the first couple episodes. Oh man, it is so bad. But hey, I'm happy. I'm getting better. I'm trying my best, but I'm here for all you Kings fans, for all your needs, right? Whether it's a loss, you want to cry on my shoulder, whether it's a win, you want to cheer some beers, I'm definitely here. So I appreciate you all so much. As Matthew said, we will be live on Saturday. I know it's an early game. We're going to do the post game the same time we did tonight, which is 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to run a Twitter space before that. So I'm going to have a space tonight. I'm going to have a space tomorrow, potentially on Friday, and then right after the game on Saturday. So hopefully we'll see you guys there, and then we'll be here on YouTube live at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturday. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you all so much, and go Kings.
Cheers, guys.